Hi friends, in today's current affairs lecture, I'll try to discuss the military coup in Myanmar. So actually this was happened 1 month back, but still the issue is not settled. The issue is becoming so intensified, and also now India is also getting some sort of problems because of that. So that is the reason why you need to understand this military coup in Myanmar, because it is not just knowing about the internal affairs of Myanmar, but it is also about the India's relation with respect to the Myanmar, because some things are happening and now we need to understand these things in detail and how it is going to affect the India in detail. Okay, so first of all, when it comes to this term coup, so what is this coup? Coup is nothing but it is an illegal seizure of power suddenly or abruptly. So if someone really uh, illegally seize the power abruptly or suddenly, then we can call it as coup, generally coup d'etat. Now here military has taken that coup in the Myanmar. Now before we getting into the what exactly the military coup, we need to understand the history of Myanmar and what actually it has necessitated for a military to go for a coup. Okay, and this Myanmar again, like if you are going with any other country, definitely you need to have an idea about its bordering countries, and also having any coast with which country it is having international border. So these are the things necessary. But just I want to give this information of Myanmar. See, Myanmar earlier we used to call it as Burma. This is also part of the British India. When Britishers were ruled India, it is also part of British India, and they got independence in the year of 1948. India got in the 1947, and after that in the year 1989, the military has changed the name from Burma to Myanmar in the 1989. And what happened between 1948 and 1989, I'll discuss it later, but just I'll show you the map of Myanmar. If you see the Myanmar, the neighboring countries of Myanmar, yes, China, both north and northeast, India, west and northwest. Again, this portion is Bangladesh in the western part, Bangladesh. In the southern, we have Bay of Bengal, and again Thailand, Laos. So these are the neighboring countries for the Myanmar: Laos, China, India, and Bangladesh, and also the Bay of Bengal. So these are the things, and once you understand this geography or the neighboring countries, because this has its own importance, I will come to that later. But when it comes to India specific, the state of Arunachal Pradesh, the state of Nagaland, and the state of Manipur and the state of Mizoram is sharing its border with the Myanmar. So the international border between India and Myanmar shares with 4 states of India, that is Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur and Mizoram. Okay. So this is the minimum geographical information that you must have. And now I'll just getting into the history of the Myanmar. Myanmar got independence in the year 1948 from the Britishers, 1948 from the Britishers, and from 1948 to 1962 there was a democratic government in the state of Myanmar. So that means people used to elect the governments like how we are doing, that is the thing. But in the 1962 there was a military coup happened. That means the military has taken over the power. So now the administration has under the control of military, and from 1962 to around 2011, that means it's almost 49 years. Generally people say it as 50 years, but almost for the 49 years the Myanmar is completely under the control of military. We call it as junta. So though the spelling is J, but we call it as junta. So junta represents the military of the Myanmar, the military administration. So junta was ruled for 49 years from 1962 to 2011. And what this junta has done and meanwhile in the 1990s there was a democratic repression, and the people under the chairmanship or under the leadership of Aung San Suu Kyi has actually fought a lot, but military has detained her and she left the country, and she was a refugee sometimes in India, and she went to some other western countries, but that was not happened. But final reform happened in the year 2008 when this military administration has drafted a new constitution. We call it as military constitution, drafted constitution. So under that constitution they went for the elections in the year 2010 November, and in that election there is a party called USDP, that means Union Solidarity Development Party. Union Solidarity Development Party, which is a pro-army or the pro-military party. It is completely supported by a military backed. So a military backed party won the elections, and they have ruled from 2011 to 2015. So though there is a democracy, though there is a constitution, though there were an election, but the political party which was won in this election is completely backed by the military. So there are no enough freedoms for the people of Myanmar. So that is how, though it is a namesake democracy. Okay. Now the elections were happened in the year 2015 November, and in that election, in the year 2015 election, the National League for Democracy, NLD, National League for Democracy, this party's leader is Aung San Suu Kyi, and this party has won the election, and they have ruled from 2015 to 2020. Again there was an election in the year 2020 November. In that election also the same NLD has won. Okay, I will come to that figures and later when I getting into the constitution of Myanmar. But now they have to rule from 2021 to 2025. That is the thing. But now what happened is, the moment after the 2020 November elections, then NLD, it is headed by Aung San Suu Kyi, has won the election. Just one day prior to their oath taking ceremony, military has imposed an emergency for 1 year. And what they are saying, we don't want to seize the power. We have already ruled for 49 years. We wanted democracy to be flourished in our country, but the elections which were happened in the 2020 November was rigged elections. That means lot of irregularities were happened in that election. So you cannot consider these results as the final results. Let's wait for 1 year, and within 1 year we will conduct the fresh elections again. Then who will be winning in that election? Definitely they are going to hold the power. But the election commission and the international agencies like the watch groups who involved in that election process, and also the world is not accepting the whatever the accusation that the military is making on the government. So there is no proper evidence for that, but they are saying irregularities happened and we need to cancel this election and we will conduct the elections again. But the people of the Myanmar is not accepting. This is something like undermining the democracy. There was an election and a particular party has won the election. Now you are not allowing the peaceful transformation of power from one hand to another. So that means previous government to the present government. Previous government is also same party, but that peaceful transformation of power has to happen. And in some of the countries in which democracy has not flourished, still these military rules are there, military generals are having the upper hand. They don't allow this free transformation of power from one hand to the another hand. And here Myanmar has failed in that. Military don't want to allow that. But on the other hand, some of the countries have reacted vehemently, and now what they are saying is, some countries have opposed the whatever the action taken by the military. People are protesting, and the Myanmar military is crushing those protesters, and they wanted to suppress these protesters, and even they went to such an extent of killing of the people. They are not allowing the people to come outside. All the military generals and all the military soldiers are in the streets to rule the country, and the elected leaders were in the jail, they are behind the bars, and people are on the roads to protest. This is what the present condition of Myanmar. And now some of the countries like Western countries have acted, and even America went to such an extent of imposing some sort of sanctions on the state of Myanmar. And some countries have criticized with a high intensity. They have criticized a lot. And okay, some countries are taking like pro democratic protest, and some countries are silent. Some countries are indirectly supporting the junta, that means the military. So now actually where the problem lies and why this Myanmar military wanted to take over the power, okay, that we'll discuss now. Now under the new constitution that was brought in the year 2008, there are some provisions, those are pro-military provisions are there. So what are those pro-military provisions? The Myanmar parliament is having two houses, House of Representatives and House of Nationals. So these are the two houses that the Myanmar parliament have, and in this they are having 440 seats, and in this they are having 224 seats, and in this 25% of the seats are reserved for the military. That means military will nominate these people. People don't have any right to elect these people. That means here they will elect only 230 people, and here they only elect 168 people, and the remaining positions are reserved for the military. This is the first point. Second point is, so that means 25% is reserved. Second point is the key portfolios, some of the key portfolios in the cabinet are reserved for the military. This is another thing. Third one is, in order to make the contest of the Aung San Suu Kyi ineligible, they have put a condition in the Myanmar constitution, like if any of the candidate is having a foreign national as a spouse or foreign national as a children, then they become ineligible to become the president or the head of the country. So a head of the country must not have a foreign national spouse and also a foreign national children. If you take the case of Aung San Suu Kyi, and her husband is a foreign national and her children are of foreign nationals, they are of UK thing. So that is why they are making this Aung San Suu Kyi's presidency ineligible by placing that condition. So Aung San Suu Kyi cannot become the president under this. And moreover, the important thing is 25% of the seats are reserved for the military. Military will appoint, and key portfolios are with the military only. And one more interesting provision is, if at all you want to amend the constitution, these key provisions of the constitution, you need more than 75% of the majority in the parliament. That means what? That means what? Now the political party which want to amend the constitution has to win all the 75% seats here and here, and they should get at least one vote of military person, because military is having 25%, no, in that at least one military person has to support to the government after winning the total 75% of the seats in both the houses. Then only you can amend the constitution. Did you understand the point? So 75%, that means of the 230 they have to completely won the 230, and of the 168 they have to won the complete 168, and that means a political party or group of political parties who want to amend the constitution has to come together, and at the same time at least one military general has to support, because I said more than 75%. These people consisting of 75, you need at least extra one person from the military. That means without the support of the military you can't amend the constitution and you can't amend these key provisions. This is the reality of the Myanmar constitution. But okay, yes, even though it was reserved for the 25%, but in the year 2015 election, the free and fair elections were conducted, and in that the National League for Democratic party has won the election, and the actually Aung San Suu Kyi has not become the head of the government, but her nominee has become the head of the government. But when they have drafted the constitution, they have made the constitution in such a way like the power center should not go away from the military. Military always should have a say in the government. Military should always have a say in the power. So that is what their intention. And now in the year 2015, in between 2015 to 2020, actually Aung San Suu Kyi government has tried to amend the constitution, but they don't have the majority, and that too military has completely boycotted that entire thing. So that means they have tried to that. But again in the year 2020 elections, when the same party, the National League for Democracy has won 397 seats of the total 476. That means it includes both the House of Representatives and House of the Nationals, both the things. But again, what is the majority that you need to form a government? It is something like half plus 1. That means here if you want 221, that's fine. And here if it is 113. Okay. So you need 334 to form a government. But what actually the military has done is, in order to get this half or absolute majority, it is very easy for military, because military is owning 25% of the seats, and there is a political party which is backed by the military called the Union Solidarity Development Party, USDP. This is the military backed party. And they thought like it will become very easy for this USDP party to form a government, because anyhow they are having the majority of 25%. Now they need to secure only 25%. But suddenly this Aung San Suu Kyi's party, like National League for Democracy, has got around 80% of the votes. That is how they have got. But anyway, you are not allowing 25% of the seats. In that remaining 75%, actually 80% of the people are voted for this Aung San Suu Kyi party. It is something like a shocking news for the military. A military thought like, okay, anyway we have to already having a support of 25%. If we get remaining 25% of the seats, it will be very easy for them to form the government. But suddenly the entire thing has changed. Now the army has started, or the military has started blaming the entire election process, like these people were rigged and I don't accept this election, and suddenly they have taken the entire power and now they have imposed the emergency. So that means a smooth transition of power is not happening in the state of Myanmar, because military don't want to lose control. This is the main thing, that is the reason why military has taken over the entire administration. Now how the world is reacting? Yes, some of the Western countries, they are always pro-democracy. So the pro-democratic countries are saying like immediately there must be a prevailing of democracy, there must be a government, and this military should go back and the democratically elected government should take the office. So that is what they are saying. And I told like United States of America is went to such an extent, like saying they have imposed sanctions. But when it comes to India, what is India's stand? India's stand is something like there must be a prevailing of democracy in the state of Myanmar. That is what we are saying. Okay, there must be a restoration of democracy, but we are not condemning the attack, or we are not condemning the actions taken by the military, because we have our own advantages with the state of Myanmar. But at the same time, China is actually considering it as an internal affair of that country, but China is also so soft on this. They are not also attacking the military with that vigor. They are not doing. And even when the issue was discussed in the United Nations Security Council, and some of the countries don't want to use the term coup in the state of Myanmar. They wanted to use another term, but they deliberately don't want to use the term coup. And there are some reports coming like countries like China, countries like India, countries like Russia, countries like Vietnam. So they don't want to use the term called coup in Myanmar. You can use any military action or something, but don't use the word coup. That means these people, these countries have some sort of strategic interest with these countries. That is the reason why they are not so aggressive against the military action, because you don't know what is going to happen in the state of Myanmar, who are going to come to power. And even if the democratically elected government comes to the power, military having its own administrative sphere in the state of Myanmar affairs. So if at all any country want to maintain any relation with the state of Myanmar, they have to maintain good relations with both government and as well as the military, because the constitution or the political setup is in such a manner, like the military is also having some sort of upper hand in the affairs. So that is why these countries don't want to annoy the military of Myanmar or the junta. But on the other hand, Western countries they are so aggressive, and they are saying, like even America, they have imposed the sanctions. The moment when America has imposed the sanctions, China has taken it as an advantage, because when United States of America impose sanction, no country will really dare to do trade with that country generally. But it is the only country that can really withstand the pressure of United States of America is China. Now China is taking advantage of this sanctions, and now they are focusing more on Myanmar, and they wanted to maintain more relations with the state of Myanmar military, because Myanmar is strategically important for China, because China want to construct some of the infrastructural projects they are doing. They wanted their presence in that, and it is part of their one road one belt, because they are bringing the roads, and in the belt project also the Sittwe and other ports, actually China wanted it, and China is also doing some sort of oil explorations. China is constructing some important highways. China wanted to maintain its dominance in the state of Myanmar, and if suddenly America has imposed sanction, China will definitely take an advantage over that. And they are not like pro-democracy or something. They will give some sort of statements, but the moment when America has imposed sanction, China has gained the upper hand in the state of the Myanmar. That is why China is doing. But why India? What are India's interest lies with the state of Myanmar? So I'll discuss those things now. So India and Myanmar ties, and why a peace in the Myanmar is important for India, why we need to maintain a good relations with the power centers in the Myanmar. So whether it is democratically elected government or whether it is military government, we need to maintain good relations, because that position is important for us. But on moral ground, we are for pro-democracy. We wanted the restoration of the democracy in the state of Myanmar, and also we wanted the gains that the Myanmar got under the democratic rule should not be lost. That is our thing, because they have got some value, they have got some good system under democracy. Those values that they have gained should not be lost, but there must be a restoration of democracy. But at the same time, India's thing is they don't want to alienate the military, but they wanted restoration of the democracy, and all the stakeholders in the Myanmar has to come together, and they have to resolve the issue. This is what India's position. So India's position is not clear, something like it should be pro-military or it should be pro-democratically elected government. So we are not getting into either extremes. We wanted only democracy has to be restored, and at the same time the values that they have gained under the democracy should not be lost. At the same time, we don't want to alienate the military. So that is India's position, because India is having its own strategic interest with respect to the state of Myanmar. The first one is India is having its neighborhood first policy, and also India is having its own Act East policy. So what is this neighborhood first policy and Act East policy? So India has to maintain good relations with our neighbors first, whether in terms of trade, whether in terms of people to people contact, whether it is cultural contacts, whether it is military contact, or whether it is anything. So neighborhood first means we have to maintain good relations with our neighbor. And what is happening in that country, it's an internal issue of that country. But the point is, because of that, if we alienate one stakeholder of that country, then it is very difficult for us. because when it comes to the border management and other aspects, and some of the defense related portfolios are in the hands of the military, and if you are opposing the military now, then after restoration, definitely if not today, some other day that will be restored, and after that restoration it will be very difficult for India to engage with that military again. So that is the reason why neighborhood first policy. So we need to maintain good relations with the neighbor. We are not supposed to intervene into the internal issues of the Myanmar, but whatever the human right violations that are happening, we must condemn that human right violation. You have to settle down peacefully, whether who has to be in power, how you need to share the power. But that is our interest. Second one is Act East policy. Yes, this Myanmar is something like a gateway to the entire ASEAN, because if at all we wanted to move to this ASEAN and eastern part of the world, that means this Pacific region, this is the gateway. So India actually wanted to maintain good relations with respect to the eastern countries, with ASEAN and the East Pacific countries like Japan and everyone, but this itself is the gateway, to that. So that is the reason why this is a very strategic player in implementing our Act East policy, because under Act East policy we are constructing some of the roads and some of the infrastructural projects, okay, in this. And one example of that infrastructural project is Myanmar India Myanmar Thailand trilateral highway, and India invested huge sums of money in the state of Myanmar, and there are projects that we are implementing in the state of Myanmar. There are some projects that we are implementing in the state of Myanmar, and even we wanted to establish an special economic zone in the Sittwe port with the help of India, with the assistance of India, and we have granted some money to Myanmar for the developmental projects. Even under vaccine diplomacy also, we have donated some sort of vaccines as a gift to the state of Myanmar. Okay, and even in the year 2017, there was a military to military agreement happened with the state of Myanmar. Under military to military agreement, we have given some sort of ships, some naval vessels to the state of Myanmar, and even we are doing joint exercises with the state of Myanmar. Even we are giving some sort of military training to the personnel of the Myanmar. So our relation is trade relation, our relation is neighborhood relation, our relation is with respect to investments, our relation is military relation. So that is the reason why Myanmar is important, because investment connectivity to eastern part of the world, and also this defense related things we are maintaining. Now, apart from this trade, military to military and Act East, infrastructural projects, investments, apart from these things, there is an important factor is with respect to security of the country and integrity of the country. So what is this concept of security and integrity? Because some states in the India like Nagaland, Mizoram, Manipur, in these states some of the insurgents are there, because actually the people who are living in either side of the border are ethnically related, and some sort of easy access is also provided, though we have a clear demarcated boundary, but in some states there is an easy access is provided to the people to move around because they are having ethnic relations. But the point is, there are some groups in the northeastern state, they are claiming some sort of independence or some sort of autonomy. If you take the case of Nagaland, it is Greater Nagalim. So National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Kaplang. National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Kaplang. Now it is merged, but earlier it was a group and which is used to attack against the Indian forces, and they used to take a safe harbor in the state of Myanmar. That means some of the groups which are working or which are acting against the interest of India are taking some sort of shelter in the state of Myanmar. But the military of Myanmar is highly cooperating with India, and last year itself they have handed over around 22 insurgents to Indian government or Indian military. That means people who are acting against the interests of India. So Myanmar military is actively cooperating with India as far as the India's interest and India's integrity is concerned. So that is why Myanmar military cooperation is very, very important, and we are having around 1500 kilometers of boundary between the India and Myanmar, and we are also having this water boundary also from Andaman. Above Andaman we are also having this territorial waters and as well as the land boundary also, water boundary and also land boundary. Now, when you have such an insurgent problem, then definitely you need to maintain good relations with the Myanmar, because I think in the year 2015, the Indian military has conducted an counter-insurgency operation, and in normal term, counter-insurgency, but in normal term you can call it as surgical strike. So, we have conducted the surgical strike in the territory of Myanmar. Our army has crossed the Myanmar and they have killed some of the groups here. Why they have done? Because some of the groups related to National Socialist Council of Nagaland, Kaplang group, at that point of time, they have attacked. There was an ambush on the Dogra regiment of Indian Army. Okay, so that is why in retaliation to that, with the help of Myanmar military, Indian forces crossed the boundary and they have attacked in the year 2015. That is a surgical strike, and without the cooperation of the military of Myanmar, it is not possible. So that is the thing that you need to understand first. So as far as this insurgent groups are concerned, definitely you need the assistance of the Myanmar military. And one more point is this, there is a concept called Golden Triangle. The countries of Myanmar, Thailand, Laos. So that means these three countries, we call it as Golden Triangle. And in this Golden Triangle, there was a huge opium cultivation happens. And there was another group called Golden Crescent, but it is on the northwest side of India. It includes Afghanistan, Pakistan and Iran. There also this huge amount of opium is cultivated. Now from the Golden Crescent, it is entering India through state of Punjab, and when it comes to Golden Triangle, it is entering into the India through the northeastern states. And if you want to stop that opium and heroin that is entering into India, you need the assistance of military, because this is creating a lot of problem in India and lot of black money is generating. Okay, and this is one point, and there is another thing is about counterfeit currency also, because counterfeit currency is also now entering through this Myanmar route. So in order to protect our country from all these evils, definitely you need an assistance of the Myanmar military. That is what we need to understand first. That is why Myanmar military is important. I will give you another important thing. The Kaladan multimodal project. So what is this Kaladan multimodal project? If at all we wanted to supply any goods or anything to northeastern state, that to states like Tripura, Mizoram, Manipur, it is very difficult, because Indians has to move from here West Bengal to through Siliguri corridor, through this chicken neck, and again it reaches to Arunachal Pradesh, and also highly difficult terrain. It's very difficult to lay the roads, but still we are making it. So you have to travel lot of distance. Now what we have done is here, and sometimes we are doing with Bangladesh, but it is not completely full utilization. But there is a port in Calcutta, there is a port in Myanmar. It is a Sitwe port. So from Calcutta to Sitwe, it's a 539 kilometer. So it's a through port route. Once it is done, now we are developing a waterway, Kaladan River Jetty. So on the river of Kaladan, we are developing, and this is a waterway, and from this waterway we are entering into the northeastern states. So it reduces time, cost of supplying of goods to the state of to the northeastern state. So in developing this, the Myanmar's cooperation is compulsory. So that is why we are having such a strategic interest with the state of Myanmar to the Sittwe port, because we have our own interest in order to develop our northeastern states. So that is why Myanmar is an important player. So cooperation with both military and government is important for us. Next, another important point is the exit of India. Suppose if we are criticizing and if you don't want to maintain relation, then immediately China will enter into this. China is ready. China is competing with India, or India is competing with China. China is bringing all infrastructural projects, and if India started criticizing the military, then China will start support the military, and China want to ensure like there must be a military government in the Myanmar, so that India will alienate the Myanmar, and India's relations with the Myanmar is completely there will be a huge gap in this relation, and finally China will encircle the entire Myanmar also. That is their strategy. So that is the reason why we have to be very careful whenever we are giving any statement or taking any action with respect to international affairs, that too especially with our neighbors. Now there is another important issue is there, this Rohingyas. There is another important issue is Rohingyas. There are many Rohingyas are there in India. Indian government has already accepted that, and if you want to repatriate that Rohingyas into the Myanmar, definitely you need to have a good relations with the Myanmar. Otherwise Myanmar don't accept it. Now also they are not accepting, but as far as this Rohingyas cooperation, if at all you want to bring any settlement in the Rohingya issue, you need to have a good relations with the Myanmar, that too with Myanmar military, because the people are fled that country because of the attacks made by the Myanmar military. So that is the reason why this Rohingyas issue also important. And there is an international cooperation on different international fora, like India and Myanmar is a member of BIMSTEC and also Mekong Ganga cooperation. Mekong Ganga cooperation. It is India, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, Vietnam. So these are the 6 countries group. So we are part of Mekong Ganga group, and we are also part of BIMSTEC group. Now the BIMSTEC group is gaining more salience than our SAARC group, because in that Pakistan don't want to cooperate with India. So India is also not focusing on this SAARC, but India wanted a regional group, and in that regional group Myanmar is also an important player. That is our BIMSTEC group. So definitely if India want to gain some sort of importance in the region, then it has to be cooperative with all neighboring countries, and it has to strengthen its own base in its regional group. So that is why this Myanmar relations are also important here. And Myanmar is part of ASEAN. India is having good relations with these ASEAN countries, and even if India want to have its connectivity with the ASEAN, definitely it has to maintain good relations with the Myanmar. So by keeping all these points into mind, now it is really inappropriate for India to act and to react suddenly against the things that are happening in the Myanmar. We have to be very clear, and we have to balance our relations with respect to both military and as well as the democratically elected government, because some countries criticizing the military of the Myanmar, they don't have any interest with these countries, but we are having a lot of interest because we are having geographical proximity with these countries, and this is some sort of gateway to the other countries, and also our security interests are to some extent related to this country. That is the reason why we need to make a caution whenever we are maintaining any statement. But the recent reports are saying, there is a one concerning thing, like recent reports are saying, because of these military attacks, people are entering into crossing the border and they are entering into India. This is a one concerning issue for India. And it is not only the people, some military soldiers, some soldiers of the military who don't want to obey the orders of their generals, they don't want to kill their own people, and if they will be present there, then the military will kill their own soldier. That is the reason why the military soldiers and as well as the people are crossing the border and they are taking refuge in India. So this number may increase if these things are continue in the state of Myanmar. Now I think yesterday itself Ministry of Home Affairs has given clear guidelines to the state, to the northeastern states, like whenever you are allowing these people inside the India, you have to be very cautious, you have to be very clear, because the thing is, first of all, you cannot accept everyone whoever you want. So that the mass exodus must not be happened in India, because India is having a good experience with the migrations that are happened from Bangladesh to northeastern state. And today we are saying like we need a NRC, we need some other thing, we need to send back these people, but perhaps it is not possible because our borders are so porous and we are so humanitarian at that point of time. Now it has created a lot of problem in the northeastern states. That is what the NRC issue. And now when we are finding an issue to this NRC and everything, lot of people are suggesting it is very difficult to implement the NRC or sending these people back. But whatever the thing that you can do is you can seal the borders. You are not supposed to accept any foreigner. So no more you need to accept any foreigner. Perhaps that might be the good solution. But when these type of things are happening but people are entering, should we accept these people or not is a very important thing, and you have to be very clear on this. And Government of India has given clear guidelines. If you think like it is very extraordinary, so if I don't allow these people, there is a life threatened to these people. In that extraordinary thing only you have to allow these people into India, but at the same time you have to track these people and where are they and how they are doing, because you need to send these people again back to that country. You are not supposed to allow these people in India itself, because if that number increases, again it leads to lot of problems which are political in nature. It will be politicized, and India is having bitter experience with these mass exodus things that are happening inside India during Bangladesh liberation war. So this is one important thing, that India has to be very cautious on these things, like people are directly entering into this and even military people are entering into this. So that is the one important point that India must focus, and India is focusing, and that is the thing you need to understand. Okay. So but apart from this, yeah, this is about India-Myanmar relations and also the military rule that happened in the Myanmar. And let hope like there must be a democracy in the state of Myanmar, and all these repressive activities must be stopped. Let the international forum will bring a concrete solution to this problem. But as far as India is concerned, India is also so strategic in maintaining any stand on this because of its geographical proximity and other things. Now when it comes to your questions and answer writing thing, definitely the prelims questions are important. Prelims questions you will get it with the border relations with respect to Myanmar, what are the states and what are the neighboring countries of the Myanmar, and also when it comes to the Sitwe Port Kaladan multimodal thing. Okay, so these are the thing. But when it comes to the analytical part, the India-Myanmar relations are very, very important, because it is it's having people to people contact, having cultural contact. But apart from that, what are our trade, investment, strategic and also security related thing. Okay, so with respect to China, so those things and some of the groupings like BIMSTEC and Mekong Ganga cooperation. So these are very, very important. Just have an idea on this. Okay, thank you.